Alright, welcome. If you made it this far, congratulations. This is the initial subsequent intervention, the initial / subsequent intervention visit training, okay? So I'm going to just dive right into it, okay? You're going to begin the visit with the auto recording, urine test, and RefCO test, like all the other visits, okay? This is a checklist of what to do in this visit. It looks a lot, but don't get intimidated. So after the test, the next thing you want to do is get their weight. Unlike pre-test, all we want is just the weight, and then we move on. This visit is going to be important because this is the visit where the patient would really think about when to quit, how to quit. At least start thinking about it, and we deal more with their smoke. We learn more about them, learn more about their smoking habits, and this visit really is the visit where the counselor can really bond with the patient. Now, so after taking the weight, you can move on and give them this. This is the patient manual. This is the first major educational material that we're going to provide them. This booklet has 7 sections. Kind of just preview each one. Just flip to the table of contents, and you kind of preview each section. And you're gonna tell them that to read one section every visit. From every visit from now on, they're gonna be getting a quiz on the section that they read for that visit. Okay, if they get over 80%, they would get a $5 incentive. Okay, and they're gonna be taking this quiz during the visit, every visit. Usually each quiz is about 15 questions long. So roughly they have room for 3 wrongs and still get the incentive. They have 2 tries. And usually the second try is a complete different quiz compared to the first try. Alright? And if they fail both tries, then you're going to have to tell them, sorry, better study harder on for the next section. Okay? So nothing more than 2 tries. Okay? So make sure you tell them to read carefully and be prepared for a quiz for each visit. So that's that. Alright. On the flow chart, it says, and in the instruction packet, we said to review the book Baby and Me Tobacco Free. We no longer use that book anymore, so don't worry about that. You could just skip on to the next one, which is this. Need help putting out that cigarette. So this book is very extensive, and you want to go through each section with them, carefully with them, okay? And this is the part where you're going to learn more about them. You're going to have 2 copies for this, one for them and one for us, and you guys are going to fill it out together. So whatever dates, and you guys should talk about it, about each thing that they fill out, okay? So the first few pages before page 7, it talks about a little information about quitting, the benefits of quitting. We could kind of just move on, just tell them to read it at home. It's a simple read, and jump right to page 7. The top portion over here you're gonna be asking them about 4 main reasons why they quit smoking. Usually a really common ones is for the health for the baby, to save money. So at the bottom part over here, you're gonna ask them about the 4 common times that they smoke. And the common ones would be right after they wake up, after a meal, when they stressed, before they sleep, after sex, during the time when they use the bathroom, and stuff like that. And then you move on to page 8. So our intervention is very heavy on substituting. So, for example, if instead of smoking when after you wake up, you could go brush your teeth really quick, or use mouthwash, because those two, cigarette and mouthwash, don't mix together. It would taste disgusting. Or instead of just having a cigarette after you eat, you could go take a walk or something like that. All right. So number 8 is our first substitution exercise section, at least. Changing your daily habits. In the previous page, we asked them to list 4 of the common times they smoke. Well, this part we asked them to pick 3 out of the 4, and instead of smoking, they could do something else, like watch TV, take a walk, color, eat, or something like that. Okay. There are some examples on the bottom, but I usually don't mention that until after they fill out their own, because you want them to kind of think about it, really think about it, and not just come up with the easiest one over here and end up not doing it. Okay. Moving on, page 9. You use your hand and mouth to smoke, so keeping your hand and mouth busy will help. So this section, kind of, we want to substitute it. Name 4 substitutions that could keep your hand and mouth busy, like chewing gum, draw, or play video games. That's pretty common. Page 10, it says dealing with negative feelings. So something I want to point out for this part, for this page, is since although it says dealing with negative feelings, like I know it's pretty obvious that smoking. People tend to smoke more when they're stressed, when they're sad, when they're bored. So those are all negative feelings. However, people smoke when they're happy too. A very good example is if you have. I'm sure most of you have friends that smoke. And when they go on vacation, and landed at the Caribbeans or something, what's the first thing they might do? It's most likely they're gonna pull out a cigarette and smoke, and that's because a lot of people smoke when they're happy, when they're celebrating, when they're relaxed and stuff. So those are positive feelings. So for this section, I wouldn't just stay with negative feelings. I would do any type of feelings that cause them to smoke. In this case, you write it down. You write their feelings here when they smoke, and then instead of smoking, what else can they do? If you're happy, maybe go and maybe buy yourself something nice. Go shopping or something. If you're sad, maybe go eat a tub of ice cream or something. Alright, moving on. Coping with withdrawal symptoms. I would spend a lot of time on this, going through each one to them, because these are common symptoms. You want to let them know what to expect. The first one is feeling grumpy. Is a very everyone knows that one, but you can move on and tell them about other symptoms that they may expect. So they're not blindsided when they do quit. They know that what's coming to them. Alright, it continues to this page. So page 13, dealing with others smoking around you. For this section, I would just pretty much mention to them that it's important for her to tell everyone around her that she's stopped smoking or she's trying to quit, because if you think about it, if you have your best friend is a smoker and you usually smoke with your best friend, what's the first thing they're gonna do when they pull out a cigarette? Without knowing that you're quitting, most of the time they're gonna ask you, "Do you want a cigarette?" Also, and that will be a necessary temptation to the quitter. So it's important for them to tell everyone around them, so at least they could either support them or at least avoid smoking around the quitter. Okay. Also throw away all the cues that might lead them to smoking, like ashtrays and lighters and stuff like that. Okay, moving on, peer support. So peer support is important. It's actually one of our pillars. And this is the part where we want them to nominate 5 peer supporter. We prefer that the peer support be a non-smoker or ex-smoker, not a relative, and have close relationship with the patient. But in reality, it's hard to satisfy all 3 criteria. So our really hard and solid criteria is that they have to have strong relationship with the patient. Even then, the patient might not have 5 that they can nominate, if any. So in that case, you would just tell them name as much as they can. For this part, we want to know their name. Write down their smoking status, if they're a smoker, non-smoker, or ex-smoker. Write down the relationship to the patient and their phone number. Okay. All right. Moving on. Helping yourself feel better. This page I'd like to use as a reward page, like a milestone kind of thing. Like if you quit for a week, you could buy yourself. Get your nails done or something, or if you stop smoking for a month, you could go on a shopping spree or stuff like that. But here you want to name 4. And you move on to setting a quit date. So this is a part where you're going to pause a little bit and tell them how you're going to set the quit date. So the quit date, ideally, we want it to be within the next 2 weeks from this visit. So it's up to them if they want to take the whole full 2 weeks, or they could do it within 3 days, or they could do it within a week. It's up to them. The most important thing that they have to think about is, that's actually 2 most important things. First thing is that they have to be mentally, physically, and emotionally ready to quit. The reason for that is because we don't want it to be just another simple day. We want this day to be meaningful, and not just any other day where it's just come and go. So make sure that they put some thought, and make sure that they're ready to quit, and they also make sure that the second most important thing is that make sure that you could come every single day for 2 weeks after the quit date. Alright? If you don't know that what our intervention by now is, our intervention is two phases. It's 8 weeks long. The first phase is a daily visit, so they come in every single day except the weekends for 2 weeks, and then the final 6 weeks, so week 3 to week 8, they come in twice a week. Okay. And so for a total of 22 visits with an intervention. That is important. That they should be able to follow that schedule. So when you schedule the quick day, make sure that they can make their visits, daily visits, every single day after quick day. It doesn't have to be exactly the same time. It just has to be that day. So one day they could come in at 9, and the next day they could come in at 3 in the afternoon. Just make sure they have to come in that day. Alright? So once you figure that out, fill that in. And then there's actually a pledge sheet that we want to fill out also. No smoking pledge. So technically, so right here to fill out the quit day, patient signs it here, the counselor signs here, and today's date. So before you actually sign it, review the bottom 4 points over here. It just tells the pillars, the components within our intervention, the length of the intervention, the compensation, and they get $5 if they pass the quiz over 80%, which I mentioned earlier. And once you mention that, then you can sign it together. Alright. Box on the calendar, box the quit date that you've picked, okay? So Dr. Wen would know and he could put it in the calendar. Page 21. How to handle slips. For this part, so you want to make sure that the patient know to emphasize there's a difference between a slip and a relapse. Technically, a relapse is smoking daily every single day for a week. That's a relapse. Or smoking for 2 weeks. Not daily, but 2 weeks. That's a relapse. So a slip can be something like you quit for 2 months and then you had a bad day and then you end up smoking a cigarette. You feel terrible about it. You don't feel good about it. That is considered a slip. The reason I want to point that out is that it's okay to slip. People slip all the time. And it's important for them to tell us that they slipped so we could address the issue and not kind of keep it in the shadow. Okay, so we want to hit the issue straight on. So talk about the slip. Why did you slip? How are you going to prevent it next time? So they won't do it again. If people just keep on brushing a slip off, it's going to eventually end up to be a relapse. And we don't want that. Okay? And then moving on. Page 22 and 23 is a little bit more information where they could go home and read it themselves. And that's the end of this book. Okay? So that's important. So after that, usually once you're done with this book, it's already an hour and a half into the visit, and the patient, usually hour and a half is the point where patient usually is ready to go. So I would, at this point, there's only 1 or 2 things left. We want to talk about financial planning. So other than helping them stop smoking, we also want them to be able to save for their kids. Okay, there's this financial planning. So there's 4 short-term goals and 4 long-term goals. Usually they're gonna need time to think about it. So tell them to take this home, think about it, and you're gonna be working with them on this next visit. Okay, tell them to really think about it and then fill it out together. Like other things, have 2 copies, one for them and one for ourselves. And in every single room there's a cigarette box like this, alright, with different colors, okay? Now, you probably think, why we give them cigarette holders when we want them to stop smoking? The reason for that is, we were gonna kind of guilt trip them with stickers like this. Mommy, you can sit quiet. Mommy, think about me. And mommy, say for me, okay? What you want to do is put that on the front of the box and the back. Alright, so it kind of give them a barrier to smoking, kind of. And it works for some people, it doesn't for others. So just make sure that, well, you could ask them ahead of time. Alright, ask them, would it be something that they think can be effective? If not, fine. They don't have to get one. If they say yes, it might work, then yes, give them one. There's different colors. You could tell them to pick whatever colors they want. Okay. And that's pretty much the end of most of the visit. Remember, before the visit, update the calendar. Schedule all the daily visits after the quit date. And if there's a big gap between initial intervention and quit date, make sure there's visits in between that too. Ideally, you want 1 or 2 days in between each visit. Okay. If you're confused about that, you could ask Dr. Lin. Other than that, once they're done with that, you're pretty much remember to give them the incentives. I mean, the compensation. The compensation for initial intervention is $30. Like usual, fill out the receipt. Check them out. Fill out the receipt. Other than that, that is the end of the initial intervention. Alright. I'm going to stop here. I know I still have subsequent intervention. I'm going to do a subsequent intervention in the next video, which is kind of short. Okay? Great. Thank you.